the special board meeting, June 11th, 2024, 4:30 p.m. Please take the attendance.
Director Arcata?
Here.
Director Johnson?
Here.
Director Maynard?
Here.
Director Mendoza?
Here.
President Loudenslager?
Here. We're going to have a closed session, but before that, I will read our opening statement of public comment. Any person may address the district board on any subject pertaining to district business, which is not listed on the agenda. This comment is provided by the Ralph M. Brown Open Meeting Act and may be limited to 3 minutes for any person addressing the board. Any request that requires board action may be set by the board for a future agenda or referred to staff. So if there's anyone that has a comment to make, then we will go into closed session.
Yes.
We're going to do our closed session here.
We'll go into the other room.
Okay. Please
Did
take,
you adjourn the special meeting?
yeah,
At what time?
Just now.
5 minutes ago.
That would be Friday. And nothing to
5:25.
report out?
Nothing to report out.
Got it. Okay.
Let's stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Would the clerk please take the roll call?
Director Arcata?
Here.
Director Johnson?
Here.
Director Maynard?
Here.
Director Mendoza?
Here.
President Loudenslager?
Here. Is there a motion for approval of the agenda?
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda.
I'll second.
With a motion with a first and a second, would the clerk please take the roll?
Director Arcata?
Yes.
Director Johnson?
Yes.
Director Maynard?
Yes.
Director Mendoza?
Yes.
President Loudenslager?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Public comment association reports. Any person may address the district board on any subject pertaining to district business which is not listed on the agenda. The comment is provided by the Ralph M. Brown Open Meeting Act and may be limited to 3 minutes for any person addressing the board. Any request that requires board action may be set by the board for a future agenda or referred to staff. Are there any public comments? Seeing none, I believe you.
President Loudenslager, I'd like to take a moment to recognize a couple of individuals for the organization here, if I could.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. Where's Becky?
She's right here.
Come on up.
So Becky Schutte, for many years, has been our business manager. And what's your final date? 26th of June, you are retiring. So we wanted to take a moment to recognize her. Becky began her career 35 years ago in public service with Humboldt County Courts. She also worked for the Eureka Police Department. That's where I actually met her, was when I was working for Eureka Fire Department. She told me where to go many times. She then moved on to the University Police Department and also worked for the McKinleyville Community Services District. And then finally landed here, which we're very fortunate to have, and she keeps us all in line, here at the Arcata Fire District. Some of the career highlights at the Arcata Fire District. She modernized our business operations. She streamlined the district's processes to be more efficient. She suffered through numerous PERS audits. So Becky has been Justin's right-hand teammate for the past 8 years. He often jokes that nothing goes out of the district without Becky's stamp of approval. She was the first ever non-suppression employee of the year in 2018. So we want to recognize her for her years of service, and Ross has something we'd like to present.
Wow.
My first day.
Okay, stay up here. Justin, it's your turn. You came in together, you're going out together. We always do. So Justin, I've known before our fire service days. We went through grade school and high school together, and then we went on through janitorial academy together in the police department, and then moved on and began our careers together as volunteers. And then from that point, we kind of deviated and took different paths, similar but slightly different. Justin joined the district in February of 1994 as a volunteer firefighter. He lived a few blocks down the street from the Mad River Station. Point of order, he and I were always racing to get on the engine.
Point of order, Dave White never waited.
Right. Usually it was he and I that ended up on the water tender, old Tanker 8 at that time. So that was always fun to go out and work fires together. He worked at various jobs. He was a tow truck driver for Max. Yeah, they're
Pre-buddies.
Pre-buddies, yeah. For Max, he worked as a parking officer, community services officer at the Arcata Police Department, and also as an EMT at the Arcata Mad River Ambulance Company. He was hired March of 2001 after a competitive process to fill the firefighter opening when Chief Toasty retired, and he promoted to captain in 2006. He became a battalion chief in 2008, assistant chief in 2011, and in December of 2012, he was made the interim fire chief until July of 2013. Somebody else became chief at that time, but he was hired as fire chief in 2016, serving more than the 37,000 residents of Arcata, McKinleyville, Bayside, Manila, and Jacoby Creek, and the surrounding areas of Humboldt County. And yeah, and Pickle Hill. Can't forget that. That's an inside joke. His education: he has a Bachelor of Science in Occupational Studies from CSU Long Beach, which he obtained in 2009, and he also has a California State Chief Officer certification, which he obtained in 2016. Some of the highlights of his and achievements of his career. During his time as chief, he encouraged and supported countywide fire service collaboration. Still to this day, he's going to the county chiefs meetings and speaking to everyone there and really pushing the county chiefs and the county fire service. He's been a huge part of of securing crucial resources and funding for all the Humboldt County firefighters. One of his career highlights as chief would be the passage of Measure F in 2020, allowing for 8 new hires and reopening a closed fire station and vehicle purchases. He also was involved in the remodeling process of the Arcata and McKinleyville stations. He established the district's first AFDEA, the Arcata Fire District Employees Association, now known as Local 4981. He served as a friend, co-worker, and colleague, and a mentor to me most recently since I've known him. Without his dedication to all the community and specifically the fire service, many careers may have been different. So I want to thank him for all of his years of service to the community, to me as a friend, and we'd like to present you this little token.
Wow. That's pretty cool.
Wait, can we get a picture of them together?
Here, can I look at the-
Sorry, guys.
Okay,
Nice.
well, thank you all. Any final parting words for the rest of us?
How about it? I'm good.
I don't know. It's been a hell of a ride, and Chris and I talk about this all the time, that, you know, we came in at 18, 19 years old, and I still can't help but see myself as that new kid, and here we are 30 years later. You're still working. I'm out the door. Yeah. So thank you so much, and good luck.
Thank you both.
Thank
Does Local 4981 have a report that they'd like to make?
Yes, sir. Short and sweet. A couple of good of the order things. We just had a member that had his first baby. So he's off currently on paternity leave, getting to know his baby. He'll be back soon. We're all very happy. Baby and mommy are healthy and happy. Recently, we had a member compete in a marathon up in Canada. Don't know how many meters that is. But I've been told he ran it all in one day. It would take me probably the course of a week. Very impressive. And then I also wanted to say a couple of nice words about Becky and. But there we go. Our gifts are in the mail. They're coming. Don't worry. Becky, so I'm in a unique position as the union president. I probably have the second most questions next to Chief McDonald, asked and answered by Becky. It's been fantastic dealing with all the business stuff on my end that we have to do. You've been very patient with me trying to figure out heads or tails over insurance questions. People have questions about, tax stuff. I don't know where to direct them to, so I go ahead and talk to you, and you're very nice about it. I'm 35, I should know some of these answers, but you know what? Everybody has their strengths and weaknesses, that's not mine. And Becky, you've been supremely helpful for everything. Thank you so much for all your hard work.
Thank you.
Chief McDonald, to kind of expand on what Chief Emmons just said, a couple of things that I wanted to highlight with labor and management relations. They're a little less tangible than all the awards and stuff that Chief Emmons had just said, but all important and meaningful nonetheless. So with the Employee Association, also helped create the first MOU, the Memorandum of Understanding between the Employee Working Group and the Fire District, which is a huge step for this organization. Overall, had inclusion with the local during this tenure for all major changes within the organization, which when you sit at the top, it can be super easy to be like, no, this is the way we're gonna do it. I don't really care how you guys feel about it. That hasn't been the situation at all. And that's been fantastic to work with. Educated us on the budget and special district governance, where a lot of this was kind of kept behind closed doors prior. And it's kind of hard to gain footing when you're an employee trying to develop your own career and see where this district is going forward. And Chief McDonald pulled that veil back so we can all have the same baseline knowledge of how this place works. Did a fantastic job of building an effective and efficient means for meetings for all those changes that do happen. There's a lot of stuff that happens to make this place run effectively. And if there were contentious relationships, nothing's happening. So we got everything dialed out where everybody has their voice and input and make the most appropriate decision possible. And then most recently, a champion for a MOU, a contract that has pushed not only this organization, but the county as a whole to value their employees more. And that's huge. So Chief, I want to say all the hard work that you've done, we are not going to let it be for naught. We're going to keep this going forward. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Does AVFA have anything that they'd like to report or say?
Real quick, volunteer hours for the day was like 42 to 42 hours, and we had some CPR classes, and the pump slated grant is still in process. But real quick, Becky, dealing with you is excellent, always positive, always supportive, and really to answer the phone and try to answer my questions and our concerns, but always positive. It was just so nice talking to you every single time. Congratulations and good luck. Chief, excellent dealing with you, always willing to support us, always willing to talk to us about any issues that we come up with. So thank you very much and enjoy yourself.
Is there any member of the public that would like to make a comment at this time?
Start showing baby pictures.
Seeing none, we'll move on to the consent calendar. Consent calendar items are considered routine and are acted upon by the board with a single action. Members of the audience wishing to provide public input may request that the board remove an item from the consent calendar. Comments may be limited to 3 minutes. Is there any member of the public that would like any of the items from the consent calendar removed? Is there any board member that would like a specific item removed from the consent calendar? Seeing that there isn't, I'll entertain a motion and a second to accept the consent calendar.
I'll move to accept the consent calendar.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Would the clerk please call roll?
Director Arcata,
Yes.
Director Johnson,
Yes.
Director Maynard,
Yes.
Director Mendoza,
Yes.
President Loudenslinger.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Moving on to district business. The first district business item, number 1, is consider adoption of the preliminary budget for fiscal year 2024-25. Do we have a staff report?
Sure. So pursuant to the Health and Safety Code, the district board has to adopt a preliminary budget before June 30th, on or before June 30th of each year. If we have not adopted a preliminary budget, the amounts deemed appropriated shall be based on the budget of the preceding year. Additionally, not on or before June 30th, the district board shall publish a notice stating all the following: that the adopted preliminary budget is available for inspection at the time and place within the district specified in the notice, and the date, time, and place when the board will meet to adopt the final budget, that any person may appear and be heard regarding any item on the budget or regarding the addition of other items. Notice has to be published in at least one newspaper in general circulation in the district and shall be published at least 2 weeks before the date of the meeting. So staff has developed a draft preliminary budget for fiscal year 24-25 based on rollover amounts from the current fiscal year. Staff is also waiting for CalPERS to complete this year's actuarials to determine what the accrued unfunded liability payment will be. It would also allow for increases in insurance premiums to be announced. After July, staff will work with Andrew Flynn from Cal Community Advisors to develop a final draft of the budget. There are a couple of things that I need to mention during this. The draft preliminary budget is based on the following assumptions. We have a static property tax growth, district assessments collections remain static. On this part here, staff levels to reflect a 3-station operation on a 48-96 schedule. Where you see on that bullet point, administration indicates 4 FTEs. It's actually 5. I didn't catch that prior to the agenda being published. And the reason it's 5 is because we had moved the fire prevention specialist into a full-time position and it bumped up into the administration. You can see the others as far as the 1 fire chief, business manager, assistant chiefs, and fire prevention specialist, as I mentioned in there. In the fire prevention position, it's actually dropped, since we moved it into the administration, it drops to 1 FTE because it's 2 combined half-time positions with the fire marshal and the fire inspector. Also mentioning that the healthcare premiums are static at this time. PERS rates based on current staffing levels, and the PERS UAL payment is estimated. At this time, staff recommends the board consider the draft preliminary budget for fiscal year 24-25, take public comment, discuss, and approve the preliminary budget for fiscal year 24-25 as presented. Also set the public hearing for final adoption of the budget at the September 10th, 24 meeting. Also authorize the board clerk secretary to publish notice pursuant to Health and Safety Code 13893.
Thank you. Are there any questions from the directors? Nothing?
Sorry. I'm on baby watch for my daughter.
Are there any comments from the public? I'll then call for a motion.
I'll move we approve the preliminary budget for fiscal year 2024-25 as presented, set the public hearing for final adoption of the budget at the September 10th, 2024 board meeting, and authorize the clerk to publish a notice pursuant to Health and Safety Code 13893.
I'll second.
Since we have a motion and a second, will the clerk please call the roll?
Director Arcata,
Yes.
Director Johnson,
Yes.
Director Maynor,
Yes.
Director Mendoza,
Yes.
President Loudenslager.
Yes,
Motion carries.
thank you. District business item number 2. Consider approval of resolution 24-311 calling for an election to increase the district's appropriations limit for the next 4 fiscal years. Can we have a staff report?
Sure. So the appropriation, I'm going to give a little bit of history here. The appropriations limit is for local governments in California were originally set by Proposition 4 in 1979. It authorizes a public entity to establish or change its appropriations limit for up to 4 years upon approval of a majority of voters voting on the measure. Changing the appropriations limit will not result in an increase in taxes, and it allows the district to fully use the revenue that is already received. So in November of 2020, with the successful passage of Measure F, which included authorization to increase the district's spending limit in the amount equal to the revenue derived from the special tax for the maximum time period of 4 years. Even though the renewal of the voter override is over a year away, staff, in consultation with our district council, believes that it would be prudent to request the district place this measure on the November 2024 ballot in an effort to receive cost savings by being placed on the general election ballot. If passed, the measure would allow for the override to continue until fiscal year 27-28. Filing deadlines for the November election are summarized as August 9th is the last day to place the measure on the ballot. August 19th is the deadline for primary arguments, and August 29th is the deadline for rebuttal arguments. Again, another correction that I missed, learning. It's actually resolution 24-311, as indicated in the staff note. It says 24-310, so that should be noted as a correction. It's included and calls for the vote on November 5th, 2024. Establishes increasing the appropriations limit for the next 4 fiscal years, 24-25 through 27-28, in the amount equal to the revenue received from the special tax for fire protection and emergency response services. It was previously approved by the voters in November of 2020. And again, staff recommendation recommends the board take public comment, discuss, and approve resolution 24-311, not 310, 311, and direct staff to draft an argument in favor of the measure for the board president and fire chief to sign.
Thank you. Are there questions, comments from the directors? Are there any comments or questions from the public? Seeing none, I will call for a motion.
I'll make a motion that we approve resolution 24-311 and direct staff to draft an argument in favor of the measure for the board president and fire chief to sign.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
With a motion and a second, would the clerk please call the roll?
Director Arcata,
Yes.
Director Johnson,
Yes.
Director Maynor,
Yes.
Director Mendoza,
Yes.
President Loudenslager.
Yes.
Motion carries.
District business item number 3, establish a process for evaluation and set goals for the fire chief for fiscal year 2024-25. This is from Director Mendoza and myself, and I will summarize this one. So we have retirement, and we have a new incoming chief, and so we don't actually have a evaluation to do this year, but we have the board, as a board, we have an obligation to establish a set of goals and a process for evaluating the incoming chief next year, next June and July. And so we had an ad hoc committee of Director Mendoza and myself. We met with incoming chief May 21st and developed a procedure and a list of goals. And the procedure is actually drawn. It's very similar to what we've used in the past with a little bit of an addition. And part of the addition and part of the format came from the California Special Districts leadership that you guys paid and sent me to. And so this is what you get when you send a board member to leadership, is new ideas. So basically, we've got a set of goals, and that's going to be the primary criteria on which the chief will be evaluated. What we're asking is that he, rather than having us just go through and write our evaluation of how he achieved those goals, we're asking the chief to write a short summary of how each of the goals were either addressed, not addressed, and make suggestions for the following year. In addition, and you can see it in your board packet, we have and whether we use this one, I think we should use this one. I don't know whether this is copyrighted, whether we can, but this one's photocopied out of the leadership manual that I had, but it's a general manager annual performance evaluation, and this is up for discussion here. But we would have each director fill this out, and then so the format is that the chief will write a short summary report of how the goals were met and what he proposes goals to be for the next year. We will each fill out this evaluation form. We will have a closed session where we discuss the chief's report to us. We take our individual evaluations and develop a consensus evaluation, and then we will have a meet with the chief and go over our consensus evaluation and our evaluation of his report. And then we will subsequently have an ad hoc committee write up a report back to him. And then that will be dealt with probably in the following month. So 1 month we'll have a closed meeting of the board, a meeting with the chief. Then from there we'll have the subcommittee write the evaluation. make recommendation for salary adjustment and establish goals for the following year. And then, so the following month, we would meet in closed session and finalize those and give them to the chief. And the evaluation, we report out the salary increase recommendation and the goals, but the evaluation remains private. And I certainly will entertain any suggestions for changes to this from the board. And then we also have the goals for next year, and we've made, we had a meeting yesterday. As those of you who've been president before know, there's usually a meeting between the president and the chief ahead of a meeting, and at that meeting we fine-tuned a number of we didn't really change any of them, but we altered the language on some of the goals, and so I wrote those down so I wouldn't forget them. And I've got a copy of those that I can distribute. Is that legal for me to do? Becky's shaking her head yes, that we're not violating the Brown Act.
Yes, they are part of your minutes.
Okay, so I'll just pass these down, and first I guess we can discuss the format that we're going to use for the evaluation, and then we can have a conversation about the goals. And you can see both copies. Yeah, you can ask a question.
Is this, what you just handed out, taking place of attachment number 2? Or are they combining?
Yeah, no, it's replacing,
Okay.
and so what we did, just to clarify, goal number 1 got split into goals number 1 and 2. And in conversation, the goal that I had written originally mentioned hiring an assistant chief and training captains for duty. And it was, in the conversation yesterday, it was decided that those were potentially constraining, that it may be, the chief may decide that he wants to hire a battalion chief or fill the administrative position in some other way. So rather than saying hire an assistant chief, it was fill the vacant administrative position. And rather than saying train captains for duty, it was changed to ensure adequate staffing for duty coverage, to give the chief more flexibility.
I feel like we should read these because folks in the audience don't have the opportunity to see what we're talking about.
And I've got some more copies. If,
Maybe we can pass them out if people want to.
I think you're correct.
I'll take one of those.
Oh, thanks.
So I can go through and read them all, and then we can discuss them. So number 1 is ensure adequate staffing for duty coverage. Number 2 is fill vacant administrative position. 3 is by the October 2024 board meeting, identify a possible location facility within the Arcata station response area that would be suitable for a temporary fire station. draft a contingency plan to vacate the Arcata station if or when the need arises. Number 4, based on the AP Trident Standards of Cover study, recommend to the board in the form of findings and a resolution, fire stations, staffing, equipment, and training facilities required to meet Cal Poly Humboldt, City of Arcata, and Humboldt County growth plans. Number 5, report to the board by the March meeting a roadmap for modifying, increasing the 2006 benefit assessment to keep up with inflation and to continue funding when the 2020 Measure F expires in 2023 or 2030. And number 6, for the SAFER grant, prior to the potential award, develop a plan for implementation. And I put in parentheses here, this will give the board a chance to see the full cost of how that award will impact the budget, facilities, and administration. And number 7 was explore feasibility with LAFCO and the County Fire Services Planning Team, regionalizing a variety of the services. And on some of those, basically, the only thing that changed is we put some time in there to reflect when the board needed the information back. So that would be clear to everyone. Any comments from the board?
Well, I like the goals, and I like the plan that you have in place to do next year's evaluation. It sounds good to me.
You'll be the president next year. You lead the evaluation.
No, it's very well thought out. Thank you. To both of you.
Is there any comments from anyone in the public? If seeing none, is there a motion?
I'll move that the board finalize the format of the evaluation and the goals for the fire chief for 2024-2025.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Just to clarify, President Slager, that's with the revision from
With
tonight.
revision.
Yeah, with revision.
Okay.
Good catch.
With a motion and a second, would the clerk call the roll?
Director Arcana,
Yes.
Director Johnson,
Yes.
Director Maynard,
Yes.
Director Mendoza,
Yes.
President Loudenslager.
Yes.
Motion carries.
District business item number 4. Adopt resolutions 24-312 and 24-313 approving the 180-day waiting period exception for Rebecca Schutte and Justin McDonald. Is there a staff report?
Yes. So obviously we have some key people that are leading, Becky and Justin, and their institutional knowledge and the service they provided. Katie and I have not had the opportunity to work through the assessment process yet and other various things that come up as part of running the district. There were like the one-time issues that come up once a year. So what we're asking with those key positions leaving is that, well, let me back up. With PERS, if you were to come back as a retired annuitant, there is typically a 180-day waiting period. So what we're asking is for the tasks that the current staff has not yet received adequate training on, which would be some of the things I mentioned. We're undergoing these training, complex responsibilities, some of the requirements that remain unfinished due to this time of the year. For instance, next month we'll be dealing with the assessments. it's really important that we still have the knowledge from Becky and Justin to maintain critical functions and preventing service disruptions until the new staff is fully trained. We would hire them on a limited basis to assist with the district's upcoming tasks over the next few months, ensuring that we're still completing a smooth transition for the newly appointed fire chief, myself, and Katie. As you can see, what the employee would be allotted 960 hours in the fiscal year with the following pay rates. So what we're asking is that the staff consider the information provided, take any public comment, discuss and adopt the resolutions 24-312 and 24-313 with the corresponding exhibits, approving the 100-day waiting period exception. So we're asking to remove that so that they could be with us next month and help us work through some of these things that we're not familiar with yet.
Are there questions, comments from the directors?
I have a question.
Sure.
Where'd you come up with the 960 hours?
That's PERS. The retired militants are limited to 960 hours a year. So it's essentially like a half time. And if they go over those hours, it's a problem. It's a big problem.
For them.
For them,
For them, but
They get unretired.
yes.
right, but do you foresee using 960 hours?
No, that's just what's allotted for them.
Okay.
So
No.
I like that answer.
it gives the ability if, for instance, I'm
It's a lot of
unable
hours.
to complete it and something were to happen to Ross, I think we could actually bring Justin back on a part-time basis or whatever
Okay.
needed to happen.
Okay.
Only if he wears the Hawaiian shirt.
Huh?
Only if he wears the Hawaiian shirt.
Yeah,
Thank you.
I have to change the uniform policy first.
Steel-toed sandals.
If he's an annuitant, does he have to go by the uniform policy?
I know what he would say.
I think it's a good idea.
Yeah.
It's something that happens in many public agencies. It happened with the county all the time. So.
City just did it
yeah.
for one of their retirees.
I think it's a good idea having that continuity for critical legal things that the district has to do. Okay.
Nothing we're getting out of them.
Are there any comments from the public? Are the directors all
Commented out.
commented out? So are there any comments from the public? Is there a motion?
I'll move to adopt resolutions 24-312 and 24-313.
I'll second.
With a motion and a second, will the clerk please call the roll?
Director Arcata,
Yes.
Director Johnson,
Yes.
Director Maynard,
Yes.
Director Mendoza,
Yes.
President Loudenslager.
Yes.
Motion carries.
You guys thought you were getting out of here early.
District business item number 5. Consider a one-time pass-through payment to Chief McDonald for the Cal Poly protest incident. Can I have a staff report, please?
Sure. So as we all know, we had the protests that were going on up at Cal Poly. During that time frame, I was out of town, and Chief McDonald had to take on additional, lengthy additional duty days. So because of the issues up there at Cal Poly, we billed Cal Poly, or billed the university for the response of personnel and equipment. All the personnel that, other than Chief McDonald, received what's referred to as pass-through pay for what is required by each labor group's contract. His current contract does not have that stipulation in it, although the district recouped all the cost for his time and response and services. Staff is recommending a one-time pass-through payment to the fire chief in the amount of $4,278. This is fairly common in many different agencies. I was familiar with it over at Humboldt Bay Fire. My soon-to-be chief contract has that stipulation in it as well. The senior management group has it in their contract as well. And then the floor personnel, although it may not be categorized as pass-through, they still receive overtime during that, any additional responses. And actually, I believe there is a portion that is passed-through based on
The assistance by hire.
the assistance by hire. So with assistance by hire through the disaster and mutual aid responses, it's something that we typically see in the fire service. The reason it's a one-time payout is because it's not in his contract currently, and that's why I'm only asking for it one time. I did follow up with the personnel, or the district council that handles personnel issues, and asked him if we were doing anything outside the law, and he said no, he did not. He felt that this was more of like an incentive as opposed to any type of overtime issue.
Are there questions from directors?
I have a couple of questions. So, based on I came from a different world, but the world I came from, the public employee executive positions were FLSA did not allow executive positions overtime. So it sounds like the attorney said that that's different in this
Correct.
case?
I spoke with our attorney from LCW and asked him if we were doing anything wrong or illegal, and he said, no, it's actually common practice. He said, yes, we are FLSA exempt. However, in certain stipulations, not that this is one of them, but in certain situations, you can stipulate to actually have, in certain criteria, overtime, but this is not overtime. He sees it as an incentive based on his interpretation of it. And we have recouped the entire cost of his services, plus the administrative fees that go along with it, so it would be passed through from what we got back from Cal Poly through to, it was well beyond just his normal picking up an extra hour or two here. It was days of service.
So, and that's my other concern, is that we didn't really realize that happened. It's just, we have some weird things going on with Cal Poly Humboldt right now, it seems, and I'm concerned about the optics too, where they, I didn't realize, so this is just overtime, this is not regular time? This is just overtime,
So it's not categorized as overtime. This is actually additional straight time that would be passed through that. So if you want to interpret it as overtime, yes, but the legal interpretation is no, it's not overtime.
Well, we're already paying him for his base pay.
Correct.
So is this instead of the base pay or including the base pay?
This is additional days, hours that he worked, covering the response up to. It's assistance by hire is what it is. Essentially, Cal Poly hired us to come up and provide the services, so it passes through to the employee. Ross was the same way with his, because it's in his contract as well.
I guess I'm not familiar with your term pass-through, so my question is, his salary is based on a month of, regular hours, 40 hours a week, so to speak. So is this instead of that, or is this on top of that? So did he get his regular paycheck plus $4,278?
Well, he hasn't gotten anything in addition yet.
Right, but is that what, so if that's the case, that this is on top of the regular pay, the optics concerns me just a little bit based on some of our dilemmas with Cal Poly Humboldt and them clawing back contract fees and I'm having a hard time processing this. Maybe the fire service is different, but it just seems a little irregular.
Actually, that's what I would say, is that fire service is different. It's like when we go out on a strike team, say over to Orleans last year, I received pass-through pay for my additional day. I'm FLSA exempt, however, because we were on assistance by hire, we recoup the cost from the state for that through CAL FIRE or Cal OES, which then for the 22 additional days that I put in on top of my normal schedule, I recoup the pass-through pay for it. It turns out to be an incentive, otherwise people wouldn't want to do it and go out.
Well, that I understand, because that's like an emergency, but I guess, I don't really know what our crews did up there. I mean, it was kind of mentioned at one meeting, but I don't really know what was our role up there, because that was kind of vague.
Command and control, staffing additional apparatus, being available for response if there had been any fires, emergencies from the incident itself.
So were we on scene 24 hours a day for how many days?
Yeah. I don't know the total on
Is
top of
that-
my head, but it was, I know you started on Tuesday, I came in on Sunday, so he was already absorbing days from Tuesday through. Thursday?
Thursday night I kicked off, and then we started, they hired us, one engine, one chief officer for the entire duration of that event to be immediately available for command and control in their incident command post and for response on campus.
So were you up there the whole time?
Not the whole time, but we dealt with all hours of the night, working through, calling OES, getting strike teams arranged. I mean, I was dedicated, I was not doing the duty coverage, I took that off the ROS so I could manage fire response.
But you're still working as the fire chief during the day, doing your regular job?
So pass-through pay Randy covers beyond the 8 to 5. So at 5 o'clock that night to 8 o'clock the next morning, I was assigned to that incident. So those hours, the 16 hours that I'm off regular time, is what the pass-through goes back to. So Monday morning at 8 o'clock, I go back on regular time. I'm not getting compensated extra for that. It's all time outside the normal work hours.
If this had been at the high school, it was someplace else, this whole scenario, how would that have been handled financially?
So if it was handled by Cal OES, which a big portion of this was,
It would still be.
it would still be compensated
Gotcha.
to us. Now, how they recoup that from the high school district, I couldn't answer that.
Okay. It wasn't coming directly from Cal Poly.
Well, we did recoup costs from Cal Poly, but we also recouped costs from Cal OES for the assistance by hire.
Cal
Did-
OES paid for 2 strike teams, 3 or additional chief officers. The university paid for 1 engine and 1 chief officer by, if they had their assistance by hire agreement, it would not have been billed because that would have been covered under the contract.
It all would have been through Cal OES at that point.
Kind of like you're working a second job, but the district is a middleman dealing with the money.
Passer.
Any other questions from directors?
I should add in, it's non-personal as well.
Yeah, so it doesn't affect our pension spiking or our, what we pay to PERS or anything like that. Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion that we approve the one-time, non-compensable, and non-reportable to PERS pass-through payment to the fire chief.
I'll second.
With a motion and a second, would clerk please call a roll?
Director Arcana,
Yes.
Director Johnson,
Yes.
Director Maynard,
Yes.
Director Mendoza,
I'm sorry, I have to abstain.
President Loudenslager,
Yes.
motion carries.
Correspondence and communications. For those of you who don't have an agenda in front of you, we got some very nice thank yous from some preschool students. I really like them. I was a little nervous about the one that has flames coming out of the fire station.
Smoke.
Spelling is amazing.
Committee reports.
for the report?
For the fire station ad hoc, no, we do not. And then for the AVFA, we had a great meeting on Tuesday and got some stuff aired out, and I think we're on the way to figuring out what we need to do. So that was a great meeting.
Budget committee has nothing to report.
This is true.
At least, yeah, we agree on that. That's good. The chief's evaluation, we had a whole agenda item on that, so we don't need to rehash that. Chief's monthly report.
Sure. As far as notable incidents that we had, May really started ramping up for us and seems to be continuing well into June as well. So the incidents weren't necessarily ours, but they were notable incidents. We had mutual aid response to Humboldt Bay Fire for a multi-story structure fire out on the 3300 block of Park Street. That was in the beginning of May. The 12th, we had a commercial building fire in our district out in Valley West. It was a fast food business that had a grease fire in the commercial kitchen and extended up through their ductwork, and there was the hood system did activate and extinguish the fire, which is what the purpose of that is. It did approximately $6,000 in damages, but there was $530,000 saved with the staff and the system operating. Again, we had mutual aid to Samoa Fire District in Fairhaven for a vegetation fire. One firefighter of ours did receive a minor burn injury. An update on let me back up. This would make it small. So we had a pre-incident value of $535,000 with only losses of $6,000. Our mutual aid had aid given 3 times, and I know this is one that everybody pays attention to. We had overlapping calls 26, almost 27% of the time, so we're holding steady on that. And our average for all calls for our response time is 4 minutes and 45 seconds. Station signs, I just heard it says materials have been ordered, but I heard the materials for the station signs actually is here, so those should be getting taken care of very soon. I heard that today, that it's here. Annexation, the protest hearing is scheduled for June 13th at the Masonic Lodge out on Bayside Road at 5:30 p.m. There's nothing new to report with the engine purchase. As far as a regional training event, this is a June event. However, we participated in the event up at the airport. It required several different agencies respond. It's a triennial required training so that the Arcata Airport can maintain their certification. So Justin and Becky may fly to wherever they wear Hawaiian shirts. I'm going to default to business manager Katie for the Pony Express review.
It went really, really well. Thank you to Director Maynard and Johnson who were there participating. We had a great turnout. It was really well received by the public. I think just about everybody that participated had fun, so I would expect next year an even bigger turnout.
And anyone who caught Greg's fall gets just replay it over.
Only
and
one
over.
injury, so.
And Nicole's daughter was like the mayor of
Her daughter was so
everybody.
popular. Everyone
Absolutely
was yelling
everybody.
at
It was
her.
amazing.
Don't boost her ego.
I'm sure she's not going to sit through this to see that.
It's gonna be Chiefs.
It was fun. Yeah, that's right.
As far as staffing, we did have an appointment for a second assistant chief, which is still vacant. We had a candidate that did not show for the interview, so it's still vacant. We're closing this process and we'll begin advertising a fresh process, see if we can recruit and hire someone. Additionally, we're going to have to recruit process for fire engineer position as we anticipate upcoming vacancies for personnel that are seeking employment elsewhere. So that's coming up. And we have one captain currently that is interested in opening a task book to become a duty officer. and one fire engineer. Actually, I should recognize Neil Butler. He completed his task book and his training. He is now qualified as a company officer with us, so that just happened as of yesterday, I believe, right? Or 2 days ago. Yeah, so congratulations and thank you to Neil for doing that.
Is that an engineer going to captain or?
No, so they can fill in the company officer role, but he's still an engineer. So
Okay,
he's
but it's an
qualified.
engineer going up,
Not a promotion.
not a promotion, I realize that, but,
You can act in the role as a captain.
yeah.
Correct. And as you can see, we had a lot of training hours, in various fields, pump operations, community risk reduction, supervisor training, and our normal EMS training. Apparatus and station maintenance repair. Probably the most significant thing is we're going to schedule the roof for the Arcata station to have the membrane inspected and cleaned. And our equipment, we had our AEDs, which are defibrillators, and Lucas devices received their annual servicing and maintenance, and hose and ladder testing was completed. And as you can see, we received about $200 in payments from fire recovery, and total inspection fees paid was right around $3,800. And that's sort of for the chief's report.
It's nice to see 8239 is in service. Usually, since I've been here, that particular number has been out of service since the beginning of the.
Well, if there's any interest, we did have a vendor from a manufacturer pull in today, and he said for a measly $600,000, we could buy a new 8230.
Oh, that's a good deal.
It actually was. We said we'll pass.
Thank you very much.
Director matters. Any of the directors have any comments or topics they would like to discuss at this time, keeping in mind that no action will be taken on topics discussed. However, a director may ask the president to agendize for a future topic. Any director matters.
The only thing I have to say, the chief already covered, so I'll just tell everybody that June 13th is a Thursday. Good job, chief, thank you.
Nice.
I would just like to recognize our outgoing retirees and welcome to the world of retirement. Just retire to something is what my recommendation would be. I don't know if you'd want to be on a board or
I was gonna say.
but it's interesting. It makes you think back. I've worked with you all in other areas. And I don't remember what job I had, but I was on Justin's employment interview panel. I was asked by the fire chief at the time, and I remember being this young guy coming in there. He was really young then too, and they were really amazed at how well he did. And you've literally done superbly since that time.
I do have to say that was awkward with my current boss being on the interview panel, and they asked, "What's one of your weaknesses?" And I'm like,
Did we work together at that time?
"Yeah, you were the lieutenant, and I was still writing parking tickets."
Oh, I see. I didn't remember what I was doing at the time. I just remember
Oh, I
that you were on the hiring list on the panel, and you really outshone everybody. I don't even remember who else was on that panel. I just remember it was a real standout.
I don't remember either, but it's just you going.
And Becky, I've seen you at Eureka. I've worked with at the university, and you've popped up all over the place for the most of my career. So and you've always been at the top of your game wherever you're at, and it's been a great pleasure working with both of you. And I hope that we see you both, although you're kind of a long way away. But send us pictures from the pool.
There you go.
Anyway, thank you.
Thank you.
Do I have a motion to adjourn?
You're not gonna ask if we have stuff to say?
I want to say goodbye.
Oh, okay. All right, sorry.
Congratulations on your retirement. It's well deserved.
Yeah, and thank you for leaving us in good hands. It's much appreciated.
I believe we have.
I think you have too, so thank you very much.
Also, you're in my district, so like, I don't know, you could take this seat.
There's no 180-day waiting period.
We're adjourned.